Welcome to The New Economy. What's next? This series is going to be focused on the Irish model, how the country of Ireland grew from one of the poorest countries in Europe into one of the wealthiest countries in Europe. And we're going to be interviewing business leaders, economists, journalists that lived through this growth and helped shape it, and how we can do that here in the Bahamas. Some key facts: between 1978 and 2018, the Irish economy grew from $14 billion to $382 billion, which is an average growth rate of 8.5% per year. It earned the nickname the Celtic Tiger, and then after the 2008 financial crisis, it was called the Celtic Phoenix. It has a lot of similarities to us. We share the same legal system as them, the common law legal system. They are close to a large market, Europe, and we are close to several large markets, the United States and Latin America. So keeping all of this in mind, let's hear from today's guest. Our guest today is Hidai Degani from Degani Consulting, based in Ireland. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Ireland and how the business environment in Ireland is set up and his experience in his company. So stay tuned. If you are a business person that is looking to grow your business in the new economy, this show is for you. My name is D.R.C. Raming Jr. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at ArrowAC, a financial services firm. I'm a serial entrepreneur, futurist, and technologist. I studied robotics and after university chose to build my international business from the Bahamas. With all that is going on in the world, one thing is certain: the businesses that will survive and thrive have to evolve or die. This show will answer the question, what's next for us? What's next for the new economy? Join us on The New Economy. What's next? So, Hidai, could you please explain to the audience who you are and what it is that you and your business does?
All right, sure. Thanks for having me. And I'll do it in a story because it's kind of very relevant to that. So my strange name is coming from Israel. It's a strange name over there as well. And I'm originally from the tech industry in Israel, like many people. But 10 years ago, we actually started our relocation journey in different countries in Europe. So we lived and worked in Gibraltar, and then in London, then in Berlin, then Malta, then Galway in Ireland on the west side, and then recently moved to Dublin on the east side, and now settled there. The plan is to stay here for a while. So we've seen different places and different work environments and cultures and different countries in the way they manage business and personal life, and we can talk about it. The way I was relocated by different companies from different industries and different roles. Every time it was a company that has a challenging role, couldn't find a person locally to do it. I said, okay, we'll relocate that Israeli with a funny accent and let him do that and get to the place. Mm-hmm. I do that with my family, so a wife and two kids, two boys, and we've done it together through the years. And we enjoy that. It's an interesting journey. Speaking about the roles I've been doing, it's a variety. I work from user experience to product development, product management, CRM, data, and ultimately customer experience from end to end. In every company, whatever you do, there is an experience. There's a customer, and he or she is experiencing your business in different touch points, from the marketing to the website to the product, service, and the invoice. And doing that well is kind of what, if you do as well, it's hard, but if you do it well, you see business value and business benefits. That's kind of the connecting lines. You want to ask something?
Yeah, no. So what? No, it's for people at home that don't understand. When you move into the digital space, the customer still has to have this wonderful experience. You can't just throw up some really ugly technology and expect anyone to actually use it. That era of the internet and the world has moved on. So it's very important to have services and experts such as yourself working hand in hand with the companies to improve these.
I agree. And again, you talk about digital, and I think the digital and the offline work together because many businesses have both. Mm-hmm. So they have a physical store and digital store. And how do you manage both of them? How some people, especially now, this has been recorded while in the midst of the pandemic of COVID-19, many businesses have to move digital now because that's the only way for them to do any business at all because the stores have been shut down.
And you got to get cash back in. You got to get cash back in, and business can't stop. Otherwise, it dies. So
Yeah. So many businesses now, even it's not something which is good to do, it's something you must do and also very quickly. And that's actually bringing opportunity and challenge together. So actually the experience could be starting offline, continuing online, back to offline. It could be a very tricky experience. And like you said, it has to be very well because the customers judge us as businesses. They don't care who's marketing, who's customer service, who did that. They just see one brand, one company, and they will take a decision based on that, good or bad.
Yeah,
And that makes it very interesting.
Everyone has a bad customer experience, whether it's calling in for support and the person just can't help you, or the app doesn't work or something, and that's a customer that you could lose. And during this time, you really can't afford to lose any customers. So yes, very, very important what you're doing.
I'll say that. Okay, so during my career, as I mentioned, I had the chance to see a variety of industries, which each one of them is measured like slightly different. Some of them, like e-gaming, has an element of pure digital, even though again, e-gaming itself has connection to the online shops. There's e-commerce, which is again going on digital, but loyalty also, which has elements of offline and online, and also fintech, which again is trying to take the banks and make them better in digital world, which is, I know it's an interesting area for you specifically with the new economy and things like that. And how do those new ways of doing banking, how is it better than the old ways? Is it really better? Which is also an interesting question and an area which I enjoy talking about as well. So it's a variety of different things and different locations, industries, and companies, which eventually led us recently, my wife and I, to open our own consultancy, a global consultancy based in Ireland, but working all over the world and trying to work with a variety of companies, from again, one man, small companies, bigger companies, in whatever they are, whatever the challenges are, in most cases using digital tools to improve the customer experience and the business results. That's in high level what we do, but it's a very flexible setup that can, it's about, if it's interesting to do together, let's do it together. Try to help companies do better from our experience in all those places. That's really the idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, that segues nicely into how did you end up in Ireland? You mentioned like 6 different countries, but why did you end up? Could you walk us through a little bit of your story, your journey from Israel to Ireland?
Yeah. So again, so as I said, we've experienced different countries and 5 relocations there, so you get a good perspective, and you kind of learn that there is no perfect place. I mean, every place has pros and cons, and it should fit to what you're trying to achieve also at the moment in time. Because also you as a person and as a business, you have different phases. Mm-hmm. So it's not what works for you in phase 1 might not be the right thing for you in phase 2 and 3. So it's really about what you're looking for. In our case, again, after doing full-time positions in different countries, which relocates you, mm-hmm. we felt it's time, it's the age of the kids. The kids are 10, 14 years old by now. We felt it's time to give them a bit of stability. Mm-hmm. From one element. From our kind of business side of things, we wanted to actually open our consultancy. So I said, actually, for that, it's better to be in one place and work from a good place in the world. And I was thinking, where should that place be? And we chose Ireland at the moment. Mm-hmm. And the reasons are, there's a variety of reasons. Some of them are personal reasons, and some of them are business reasons. If you break them down.
But let's break them down, because people don't understand that one of the reasons, so we're very close to the United States. So people are always talking about Silicon Valley. And what people don't understand, unless you've been to Silicon Valley, is there's a atmosphere and a feel to the place that doesn't really have anything to do with the business, but you just have to cultivate that environment that wants people to stay. So the personal is just as important as the business environment.
Yeah, absolutely right. And what I say again, business is nice, but again, in the business, if you have a family, usually one person is involved. But as a partner and kids, if they're not happy, there is no business. So it has to be the full package, because otherwise it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. So you need to make sure that the personal side of things, people would like to come, would like to stay, and it's good for them. And businesses, again, being attracted, there's some benefits attracting them to start and stay and thrive there. Mm-hmm. in that economy. So it's an ecosystem, basically.
It is.
So if you start breaking it down from the business side of things, if you start over there, okay, you look at a few factors. So one thing is, let's take Ireland as an example, but again, you can apply it to any country and get different kind of answers there. Ireland currently is in an interesting position. especially after Brexit. If you look at, it's part of the European Union, and it's a strong member of it. And the formal language is English. That's a start. Again, there's only 2 other countries in the European Union where the language formally is English. One of them was the UK, but it's on the way out. The second one is Malta, actually. But in Malta, they speak Maltese and English equally. So it's not exactly the same because Maltese is still very strong language there. So some documents will get Maltese and English together. And if you don't know Maltese, and not many people do, it's a bit harder than just plain English, which is, again, in Ireland is all English, there's no problem. The Irish language, by the way, is spoken by a few people. So practically, there's no need for you to know Irish. And the schools, almost all of them, again, the English only specific schools are trying now to kind of bring the Irish language back, but there's no need to know Irish.
For better or for worse, English is the lingua franca, the lingua franca, meaning that it's the language of the world right now. So that's definitely an advantage.
Yeah, and the language of business. Business, you need to speak English. It doesn't matter where you come from. That's the language that won the battle eventually. And business is done in English, and that's one thing which makes anything in business and also personal much easier. So that's one element. Okay. Second element is connected and access to bigger markets. Again, European Union is a strong market in Europe. Ireland is a member of it, and as that, if you open a company, you have license in Ireland, and you want to operate and run an operation to the European Union, that can be your gate. Again, London, of course, was the biggest and most famous gate for many companies, but now after Brexit, it's not anymore. So if you're a payment business, for example, many companies used to operate in London, now opened operations, they need to prove their operation outside, whether it's Dublin or Amsterdam or Paris or Berlin, but you need someplace outside, otherwise you lose the passporting ability to use the license there in 27 markets, in a very big 27 markets and a big market European Union, which is very important.
And for people who are just tuning in, the passporting is the ability for you in one country to work in another or to do business in another country. So that's what he's talking about. So continue.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm not going to use too much jargon, but that's on the payment side of things, is the ability to to do that in other countries, which is, if you don't, you need to go to every country and be licensed in every country.
Which is cumbersome, and you have to be able to, it's about the ease of doing business, and that's what that is about.
Exactly, and actually on that point, exactly, ease of doing business, Ireland is actually famous for the ease of doing business. There's measures which are publicly known, meaning that, and I can attest that someone who opened a company here, it's very easy to do 3 things: to open the company, operate the company, and close the company. And you probably want, at some point, you reach all of them.
Yeah, because certainly in the business cycle.
Exactly, and you need to be able to do that. And again, some countries just make it easier or harder than others. And you want the ability for someone to do that very, very smoothly, because if not, it's a barrier. And it just takes time and effort and money to do that, which is, again, on your bottom line eventually. If you spend time and money on that, it's harder to make the company profitable.
No, you need to be spending your money on actually generating sales and actually adding value, not on tedious administrative costs.
Yeah, as much as possible. There's always some level of that, but you want to keep it minimum.
Here are my 3 key takeaways. 1, the development of an ecosystem for personal and business life. 2, provide access to foreign markets. And 3, increase the ease of doing business. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsor. At Arawak X, we understand that for businesses to grow, they need capital to hire staff, buy equipment, and fuel innovative ideas. We support this process by using technology, years of business acumen, and a world-class team to get business the investment they need to get to the next level. If you are a business owner and need between $100,000 and $3 million, contact us today. We will schedule a meeting over the phone or video chat. Get on the path to your dreams. Arawak X. Dream bigger.
Documents are part of every essential business process. That's why it is important that they keep moving forward. Documents can be forwarded to the wrong person, left behind on someone's desk, or in the worst case scenario, they're completely forgotten. So it can take an eternity for an invoice to be approved, for example. This causes aggravation and costs time and money. DocuWare takes your documents straight to the finish line electronically, without detours. All documents are always exactly where they are needed. Employees are immediately notified if they have to process a document. And what previously took an eternity is now almost incidental.
Think direct ownership of the Bahamian pie isn't for you? Think again. At Arawak X, we believe in the ingenuity of the Bahamian people. These times are uncertain and unprecedented, but we know that in every crisis there is an opportunity to add value to people's lives. To this, we understand that new businesses will be formed and old ideas whose time has finally come will be realized. We see this in industries long been ignored by traditional financial services and by society at large, particularly in our digital businesses, agribusiness, fishing, manufacturing, and even new touristic ventures. Due to our present circumstances, these businesses have finally been brought to the forefront. Arawak X seeks to give your ideas and your participation a means of making your financial dreams a reality. We give businesses and investors tools needed to finance them. Business is a complicated thing, with many moving and changing parts that often require multidisciplinary teams to turn ideas into reality. While no one can truly say which businesses will make it and thrive and which will not, there are certain formulaic traits that successful businesses have. This is why we here at Arawak X place such a high emphasis on corporate governance and the structure it brings to give companies the best chance at growth and expansion. Arawak X operates a regulated and financially inclusive platform that combines modern technology with best practices and a world-class team to bring together businesses and investors at every level, allowing wider participation in ownership of companies. So here's how it works. Investors, both foreign and local, individual and institutional, can view offerings and directly invest into these companies. We have spent several years and invested greatly in our staff and technology processes. We are doing this by greatly expanding the ease of investment. In other words, people will be able to participate in promising new ventures for as little as $50. The ethos of our institution is that of financial inclusion. And in this spirit, we ourselves will be a publicly traded company. In these next few months, as we roll out our platform, know that we view ourselves as an integral part of a wider societal change, the change that brings ownership, opportunity to everyone. We are pleased to work with our partners in industry, government, civil society, and the people in making the Bahamas the best little nation on this planet. As a first step, we have put together a free online course, the Intelligent Bahamian Investor Masterclass, that will give you some of the basics to investing. This can be found at invest242.com. Arawak X, dream bigger. I've been blessed to grow up in a business family. The most important thing I've learned from them was to listen to experts' stories. Learn from their successes, try to avoid their mistakes, and copy best practices. In the New Economy TV show, we are bringing innovative experts that are growth-focused. This show is for entrepreneurs, business leaders, and policymakers. Join me and my guests every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. on our TV. The New Economy. What's next?
If you look about, okay, you open, you run, you operate, and then it's about tax benefits. Taxes, again, is an issue. And again, Ireland, again, famously known for making it's very interesting and lucrative for the big companies, the big tech giants, like Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, etc. have a base here. and enjoy tax benefits because of that. Now, they might have come here for tax benefits, but then if they stay here, it's becoming part of the economy. They employ many, many people. They're becoming part of the industry. And again, it's good for the country as well, because many people work there, they get to train there, they get a good experience, a good training, and skills. And then they usually leave to other companies, probably Irish companies, smaller, and then that experience actually staying most of it in the country. That's a benefit.
Yeah, because there is a certain way of doing business in that Silicon Valley is really, really innovative. I mean, even today, it's 20 years later from the .com era, but even today, the way that they do business is just once you've seen it, once you've touched it, it never leaves you, and that's something that is, like you were saying, it's a secondary benefit.
So, like you said about Silicon Valley, we said 20 years ago, and it's still going strong. Why is that? Part of it is also success leads success. I mean, there's more companies coming in, the more coming in, the more it becomes the place to go. And they bring others. So not all those companies came to Silicon Valley at the same time. Not all those companies came to Ireland at the same time. But once you have certain size, they attract other. And that's the same on people as well, by the way. So a community becomes a community. It becomes, then you have people, then you have expertise, then you have facilities. And then it starts, it's kind of snowball. Again, the traction and the community feeling makes it easier for the newcomers to join, and that's why. So the first ones are the hardest. First companies, first people. Then you need either the government or someone to really make an effort and go, maybe even above and beyond, to make those first early adopters a success story. And then build based on that, you build and create more successes and bring more people. And then it's easier to actually build on top of that.
In 3 common law jurisdictions, and then you also were in 3 civil law jurisdictions. Could you maybe speak a little bit about how different, like, the legal system, interacting with it in terms of a business perspective is? So, like, how is it in Germany interacting with the law versus Dublin?
So again, we don't have interaction with the law too much, but I think it's like you said before, it's the ease of doing business. I mean, the time to takes you to do the things you need as a business and as a personal as well. So open a bank account is critical as a person and as a business. In some places, you could take 8 months to open an account. That's not a time you can wait without an account up and running. So I think maybe not the law itself, but its interpretation of the law by banks, by government bodies. This is where you see the big difference, and that's ease of doing business. How long it takes you, 1 month versus 8 months, is a huge difference when you start. In some I won't mention where, but in some place it took, by the time we had the bank account, we almost left. So it was really irrelevant, and I had to use my previous account from a different country almost all the time we lived. So, and that's not something you can really, if we do stay there longer, it would be a real problem. And that's the thing where the big impact is how the processes around the essential things you need, renting a place, buying a place later on if you want to stay for longer term, bank account for the company, for yourselves, those things, all the government kind of bureaucracy that you must go through, you must get all those.
No, I mean, obviously bureaucracy is necessary for civil society. No one's saying you get rid of all of it, but at the same time, it shouldn't be a hindrance to daily life. It should be a help, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, if it's not good enough, if the country is saying it's not good enough, you can probably get in and create an environment, or consultants or companies that say, you know what, we'll do it for you because we know we need some local expertise, but build those kind of ecosystem that helps you and tell you, like in Germany, there's local people that say, listen, we'll do it for you. Don't worry about it. Even though that guy or lady works very hard and run around all the offices, if you didn't experience that, that's perfectly fine. So you might, if you know your country is not ready yet to that, you can put in a middleman, let's call it, that actually does the hard work, and that's okay, because the experience, as we said, the experience for the person in the end is okay. That's also perfectly fine, especially until you build those kind of.
Oh yeah, and it's those little things that that create that positive experience that, like you say, help with the snowballing, because you then I'm sure when you get on the phone with certain friends and family, you're probably saying, you need to come to Ireland because you haven't because it works.
Exactly. Again, use people and then you create kind of reputation. And then at some point, there's enough critical mass the place has a reputation. Oh, we know, we've heard about it. Enough people talk about it, people know the place. Oh yeah, well, we consider that. And then again, it starts fueling itself and you do that. So I think if we talk about the business environment, which is about the tax benefit, ease of doing business. Can you get, we didn't talk about local workforce. So what people you have available and the skill set they have, education level. That's, for example, Ireland is known for a very high level of education. There's good universities and good educated, hardworking workforce. And then when you bring a company, you can quite easily find the skill set you need, especially around specific areas there. But for example, some places have less, like Ireland don't have necessarily a tech industry itself. Like Israel is known for the tech industry. Lots of people come with tech abilities, deep tech abilities. Ireland, on the other side, have a lot of account management, sales, operations, plenty of people, again, from those big corporations, companies that here. So different companies, different cultures, and different places, I guess, have different skill sets which is available. But it's good to know that. But if you have a good workforce which is educated, that's a good place to start. And universities are showing that. Also, universities, the good thing about them, they bring young people exposed to the country. If they like it, they tend to stay. So the graduates try to find a job, they like the place. If they do successfully do that, which again, as a country, you probably want to give them structures in place to help them find it.
Yeah, and then you get to cherry pick the kind of immigrants that you want. You have the educated ones that can add value. So that's the advantage of universities.
Exactly, and also they already know the culture. They know around. They know the way around. They're not new to the country anymore. And if they choose to stay, it's a good choice for them. I mean, they've seen enough. And yeah, you get good educated workforce, which again, the more you have those, it's just easier to operate because as the company grows, you need people. Again, people is the biggest, most important asset, but also a big challenge to find those people. So again, if you have lacking of those, it's just harder to operate.
Okay. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's for us, we are looking at what's next. That's the whole title of the show. The country is new. It's independence in 1973. So we are kind of at that stage where we were largely tourism dependent, tourism and financial services, which is good because we're close to the United States, so we have a lot of access to that market in terms of the tourists and being able to market into that market, to do marketing into that market. But with this whole COVID-19 shutting the global economy down, tourism is essentially on pause. And so we need other kinds of industries here if we're going to survive. Because you can't have that kind of shock. We had a shock in 2001 with 9/11. People stopped coming, so that did a lot of damage to the economy. In 2008, we had a shock because of the financial crisis. Obviously, when you are suffering, you don't have money to go on vacation. And then now with this COVID-19 is the third. It's our country is going through a massive soul searching of what's next, because you can't. It's obviously not sustainable in a crisis.
Yeah, and I think and you're right. That's a challenge there. So you mentioned a few good points and potential kind of points to build upon, and some challenges. What you mentioned the tourism and the proximity to the United States. Again, that's opportunities because you have access to people. I mean, many people. I mean, you mentioned the Bahamas. You want to think beaches, vacation, great vibes. It's a known. People know the place, and people recognize and connect it to a very good feeling. Bahamas, vacation, great. I want to go there. Exactly. So that's a positive brand. Again, we talk about brand and marketing, but it's really like that. I mean, the country markets create the reputation markets itself. So Bahamas have a good brand because you recognize you're thinking about those kind of positive things.
A few of my key takeaways: use tax benefits to attract large multinationals, as they provide direct jobs, but also spin-off benefits. Ease of doing business is not just an abstract concept. Ease of business has some tangible things, like how long does it take to open up a bank account? How easy it is to buy or rent housing. We need to start thinking about the user experience from the business as well as from the worker. Also, there needs to be an educated workforce. Another strong takeaway is that the Bahamas has a good brand, so we're doing good already. We're not starting from scratch. Maybe we should consider making our motto business is better in the Bahamas. So thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next time.